Yes, good morning, everyone. Ed Vargas, your host here in Promesa, New Mexico, with Mary Inham, for Commissioner for Bernalillo County District 2 is with us right now. Thank you very much for hearing us and from listening to us and from watching us in all the social media places like Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, and also the application in the radio. Mary, how are you? Good morning to you.
Oh, I'm doing pretty well. I've been fighting a computer that's a virus, so I'm having to work around that. But God's good, and it's getting me through.
No problem. Listen, don't worry about it. God is in control, and He will make whatever has to be done. Okay. How are you? How's everything? I mean, I mentioned last time in the program that I wanted you to come up in some points for us to talk about that you will be addressing when you get to the seat of commissioner for District 2 for County Bernalillo County of Albuquerque, New Mexico. Here I'm going to put the topics in the right hand side right now. Talk to us about that.
Okay, well, the first one on there is the parental rights, and it. I mean, this chart is very simplistic. The point I think that God is the person that God is who created families at the very beginning, and Adam and Eve, and then they're had two sons to start our whole human family. And what's happening right now is that um, the Democrat Party had, and progressives especially, have well they have a saying that the it takes a village to raise children, but they see that very differently. They see that you should give your children basically to the public schools, to the daycares, to any government funded agency, and that will that will be great, and that's how the kids are going to be raised. We, of course, as Christians and the conservative Republicans, believe that the parents are the primary people to watch over their children and to ensure that they're well taken care of. Of course, in a good functioning society and neighborhoods, the neighbors would help us. They would see a child in danger, about to run in the street to get their ball or whatever it is, and of course intervene to protect the children from anything that could be bad when they're in their sight, and not that they're responsible for the raising of those children. So I think that's a big difference. And what we've talked about in the past with the referendums, with the 6 laws that were passed in 2023, is that one of the big ones, House Bill 7, where that's the one where they have to affirm, they have to say this is great for someone to be a child, to be transgendered, or to be assisted in an abortion, and that the parents cannot be told, or the school or health organization would be fined if they did tell the parents. So there's just that one is a clear indication of what the government and what the progressives really want to take, even those very, very super important decisions for parents, and ways for them to protect their children away from them.
Okay, that's the parental rights, all right. Oh, okay. Listen, I'm going to put this in Spanish because I just got somebody who talked to me and I said I don't understand it. Well, now they have it in English and in Spanish. But parental rights is the derechos de los padres. Parental right is something that they shouldn't touch about that. Though it's been that way all the time. We have a saying in the United States: if it works, don't mess with it. Okay, it was working all the time. Now we started dabbling on this. We started in another way. I don't want to say messing with, but the word is messing with, not dabbling. Because if you dabble into something, you just have ask a couple questions. But no, they are trying to tell us and change that into ourselves. They cannot come into our home. Our home is our domain. It's where we form our children, where we give them the law of God, the wisdom of God. I mean, let them know about God, about what he thinks and why he thinks that way, and then they can have a better upbringing. And finally, whenever they leave home, they can be able just to choose right and wrong. And probably our job as parents is to able to influence in our kids to be able to choose more wrong than right, isn't it? So, Mary, that's part of it. And about parental rights, what part would you be able, uh, would you be involved with the district too? What kind of awareness would you bring to us?
Well, one of the things that comes to mind is that the county commission has funded some, they're called mobile health centers. So they have big van that goes around to provide health care to school children who don't, who may not have a doctor or not have a center at their actual school. So these mobile ones go around, which sounds good when they're needing to be examined for if they want to play soccer and their parents are having trouble getting an appointment, with a primary care doctor to get approved to be able to play soccer, basketball, whatever the child wants to do at school. Um, and those kind of things are good. Or if the child is sick at school, the parent says it's okay for the nurse practitioner to take a look at them and see if they need some antibiotics or things like that. That makes some sense with parents' permission, of course. But what's happening is that would be one way that what I was talking about earlier, that HB7 could be perpetrated on children is through that device. So that was paid for by county funds, and those are the kind of things that we can try to assist with. Also with the bonds for public schools, that it would be really important to limit those, to actual educational needs rather than some of this extra things that they're trying to add to and take away from parent right.
Exactly. No, that's what I believe, though. You're correct. You're quite correct in there, in all sense. What about voter ID? What does it mean that are they trying to buy in votes by letting everybody else who's not citizen and just giving a wannabe ID for the purpose of them making more what is wrong right or right wrong? What is that?
Well, the voter identification, and I've worked at the poll where people vote many times, and a lot of people will come up and will hand me their license and or their voter card that says, all their information related to voting, because they want there to be identification of, yes, I am a citizen of the United States and I am, eligible to vote. And I want you to know that it's me. It's not somebody that's posing as me to try to take my chance to vote. And in our state and in a lot of other states in the nation, it is not required that we have voter identification. And to me, I mean, can you go to the bank and get money out of your account without your voter ID or your driver's license? Probably no, you cannot. And can you go to, I mean, so many things. Can you go get your food stamps? Can you go get nothing else except voting allows you to do that without having a picture identification of you that you are indeed the person that's asking to vote. And I think that's really wrong. And it's really, foolish. But it's also a way that allows cheating more by not having voter identification. And most other countries require, some of them have a fingerprint that they put an indelible, and then the person, if they voted, their fingers purple or whatever color, so they can tell that they indeed have voted. If they come in and have a color on their thumb from fingerprint, they cannot vote because they've already voted. So I think we just have to let that slide so much that need for identification of who's who and who's supposed to be voting. And that's a
Exactly. So make the right vote count, not just anything and everything that it might look okay, but it's not. You cannot
right.
dress the truth. The truth is not that you are a citizen and you need to be a citizen of the United States. The Constitution says that. Hey, and the next uh, point is the Constitution. So we are messing with the Constitution. This is something that is set for us to have and be the country that we always been in now because we have some trips and lips and bounds and things like that, and trying to create and try to redo whatever worked for so many years. What can you tell us about that, Mary? About the Constitution?
Well, we have the United States Constitution, which really is that our founders were just blessed by God and were depending on God for those for that way of government. And they had looked; these people were brilliant, and they had studied, or actually, a lot of them had lived in European countries where there was a king, or princes, or dukes, or different types of monarchs, or things like that. And they saw that those things did not work. And actual democracies, quote, like in Greece, it was the popular vote. It was the number of people that voted on something that made it happen or not. And they realized that when you just that kind of system of a democracy, then mob rule can take over, and people can get things done that are just not right and not according to the rule of law. So our founding fathers were so wise, and that's why our for over 250 years our government has done well, and people have desired to come to our country because we have a rule of law, because we go by the Constitution that doesn't allow a bunch of changes and doesn't allow a bunch of things to enter into our government. And what the Constitution does a lot is controls the government and puts the government in its place, because we, the people of the United States, the citizens, are we are the sovereign. We are the ones that control what happens in our countries and our states and our counties and cities. And when at this point that is flip-flopped, and the people that want to change the U.S. Constitution as well as the state constitution, and that's not right. Those were established, those are working, those are based on godly principles. And so one of the things that are on the ballot here in New Mexico and Bernalillo County are changes to our constitution in New Mexico. And my advisement is two of them sound good. They're for our veterans, which we love, and we thank them so much for their service and for their help for all of us to keep us safe internationally and nationally. But they've put those in there as constitutional amendments. And some of the reason, in my opinion, that they're doing that is to try to break down our Constitution and make it easy to just put in this, put in this, change that in our Constitution. There are other ways through our Senate and House of Representatives to put in laws and statutes that would serve the same purpose. So I would say to vote no on the constitutional amendments that are being on our ballot this time.
Okay, exactly. Now, yes, it's correct, though, and that drives us to the next point, which is the right to bear arms, because this is a point in our lives now, everywhere in the United States, where a lot of things are happening, and it has to do with the next point, is some invasion of bad. Not saying that all immigrants are bad, because at one point I was an immigrant, okay, but there is not only immigrants, but the danger itself are the local things in here, the drugs and whatever, the zombies, the and in Philadelphia and here in Albuquerque and throughout the whole United States, the homeless sometimes, that some of them are good and some of them are bad. But what can you tell us about the right to bear arms?
Well, that's what's written with the early founders, and what that sometimes that could be kind of confusing. Like, what do you talk about bearing your arms? Or, but it refers to the Second Amendment, uh, which allows for citizens to have weapons to protect themselves, their families, to hunt and do things like that. If they're farmers, to protect from coyotes or wolves or whatever. But also, it's a protection against our own government. If our government gets to the point where they are not following the Constitution and they are taking away the right of we the people, then we have the ability to, as needed, to have a weapon to protect ourselves against that type of attack and onslaught as well. And there, if you listen, watch, there's so many attempts to take away this kind of gun or weapon, or ban this, or force all the regulations, be able to come into your home and look at your guns, see what you have, and take away them, or think you're not stable or speaking correctly or whatever, they can take your weapons. And we can't do that in the United States. There's places like Australia and some other of the Western nations that have let the government take all their weapons. And so, in like during COVID, in Australia, New Zealand, some of those places who are our allies and have helped us so much in wars and different things, they took their weapons away, and in COVID, they were locked into their houses. They couldn't even, were not even allowed to come out if they didn't have the COVID shots and stuff. So you could see how far that was moving when the people themselves did not have the right to bear arms, the right to defend themselves from the government and also from other invaders in their homes.
Correct, correct, Mary. I mean, it's so important because that's part of the Constitution. I mean, I think we are allowed to. And listen, there is some other things that are worse than that. Allowed to, you know, that we are hopeless without that. We're giving sort of like halfway at the way of the getting into your home. If you don't have anything else, people can come in armed and then be able to kill the whole family and then leave and take everything they want and go to the next one. But if people will know, I mean, sure, there is procedures about why, and then you have to sign to understand, as the Constitution says, you have to be responsible. You got to do it for a good use. You cannot do it this and that, and you're going to have to probably, I will say, the procedure about how to give a license to somebody for to the rights to bear arms is to be able that he's going to use it in good judgment to protect
Yeah.
themselves. You know
Yes.
what I mean? Okay, that drives us to the legal immigration. I say, I heard something the other day, interview with, her name is the vice president running for president is Kamala,
Mhm.
and her last name is Harris.
Yes.
Kamala Harris. Wow, I learned it. I mean, I didn't know who she was until just now that she ran for president. But she was really questions in this part of the immigrants, legal immigrants, that she didn't want to answer the question. She was very, very diplomatic about the interviewer and CNN, and it wasn't Fox, I believe, it was CNN, two major uh, medias in the whole world, not in the United States. And she didn't want to get into that involved too much, and she wanted to give excuses first before she accepted 6 million immigrants that came into this country, and all of them, and that's all the ones that we have counted. Imagine the ones that have not been counted, that they come over here. Now the United States made it available. Hey, you want to come over here, go to the border, state your case, and the people, the agents, immigration agents at the border, they will make the best judgment to decide whether it is. But at least we're going to know who it is, where is it going to be, what is he coming to do here, and if it's good for our country to have that in our home. It's like United States is the home, all our homes. Like we are a small part of the big home, which is United States, and we let them in. We have let a lot of people who right now in different states are at a gunpoint are really, criminals that are robbing, assaulting, and doing harm to us that we were in peace before. Okay, so what can you tell me about that, Mary? I'd like to hear your thoughts.
Well, I mean, as we all know, in our the founding of our country, other than the Native Americans or Indians that were on this in all the parts of the United States, all the rest of us are immigrants or children, grandchildren, great grandchildren of immigrants. People came from all different places to the United States, and even before it became the United States, during in the colonies and stuff. So we and the Spanish came, a different route from the south and into California and things like that. So there have been a variety of, but all different nations have come here, and that's been a big part of what we have accepted more than any other nation. You look at the names of people and the countries that people come from, and we're happy in the United States to have such a variety and such a great collection of people that are looking for what the United States has to offer in terms of freedom and liberty um, and things that we're talking about, to have a constitution that protects them. And so for legal immigration, like you're saying, who know who the person is, they've gone through the correct channels, and we have they're in a system, even though it's kind of broken, kind of takes a really long time to become a citizen of the United States. We want people who that's what they want to do, that they want to be a part of the United States, and they don't want to bring their country and put it in the United States, like some of the maybe Somali and some of those groups that really want to have their own law within, and rather than go by the laws of the United States. We don't need that. We don't want that. And we don't want little pockets of people who are so separate from everyone else that they have their own Sharia law or those kinds of things. We want people to be a part of their community and work together with the people around them. And what's happening right now in with the progressive and the Democrat Party is they brought in a ton of illegal immigrants, treated them better, and provided more for them than they are for our citizens. And they also are trying to put them ahead of anyone who's in the process of working on becoming a citizen, and move those folks to the front of the line so that they can be voters basically for the Democrat Party. And many of them are not savory characters. We're having a hard time in the United States when somebody who's an illegal immigrant convicted of a crime, to get their country to take them back. We're trying to send them back, and a lot of those countries are like, nope, we don't want them. We took them out of our own prison and sent them over to you guys, and you paid for them coming, and now they're committing crimes against your people, and we don't want them back. And so it's putting us, we have all these folks that are bad, they're doing bad things, they've been convicted of crimes, sitting in our prisons and jails because the other countries won't take them back for good reasons.
It's correct. I just want everybody to know that I'm not trying. I'm trying to tackle the facts, and I'm not trying to use immigration as one of the things, because also I came and I myself work helping immigrants to be legalized over here only if they eligible and they have the right reasons. If they don't, we can help them. But if they feel some other entity in the United States finds a way to bend rules or something like that, we don't want to be part of it. I don't want to be part of it, because that could result in the future somebody laying on the ground dead or whatever, and me making a judgment. The United States put immigration laws to be met,
Yes.
enforce them. I enforce them. I do help immigrants whenever they have a good case, whenever they pass through the border and they have a court proceedings, or they have a visa coming in. The United States already welcomed them. They already went through the screening about who is coming in here. Even though we're not safe of anybody, you and I, if we're not with God, we might be able to let our emotions and feelings overtake us before our rational thinking and commit something that is not correct. You
True.
know what I mean? And I would like to say that it is a lot of all the immigrants. This country is made of immigrants, or just about a good percentage, more than the 50%. And most of them, they're being good because they made this country be what it was and what we're going to become, a great country. Do you know what I mean? So that's why I believe that immigration, I think with Donald Trump, it's going to get a lot better. People think about it that it's going to get worse. No, it's not. It's going to put rules. It's going to enforce the rules. It's going to make sure we follow them and welcome everybody. We welcome. I'm not saying I don't have the right, but United States is the one that controls the border. They're going to make sure that we're going to have a good company, that our homes are going to be protected, that we have space for more good people, whatever they call them, immigrants or whatever they can be called, but they can be our neighbor. We can say, hi, how are you? How you doing? Good morning. Hey, nice to see you. What's your name? You know what I mean? The way we are here in this country. Okay. So that's about the legal immigration. I think is going to uh, be more control. And I think the Republican and conservatives are saying yes for it, for that part. Now that brings you to another thing that it is very interesting, and I think you're going to have a couple thoughts in there too, though, because I heard you in the past saying things like control government spending. I'm not who's controlling their spending because I heard before that they control. Say, for instance, in here they just spend I don't know how many $1 million to by what is the place over here nearby Albuquerque clinic or hospital for abortion. I think it's where is that place? Do you know where is that at? That they're trying to build an abortion hospital.
Oh, down in Doña Ana County, and where Las Cruces is.
Last Cruises, that's
That
what it is. Last Cruises.
taxpayer,
It-
yeah, taxpayer
and I
funded.
say, well, is that money well spent? Tell me, Mary.
No, I mean that it it should not be a government funded facility. That one is also going to have transgender um, treatment for children who are confused about being a boy or being a girl, and they'll go through start those hormone therapies and start the mutilation of children through surgeries at that facility as well. That's when, in other countries there have been studies done in Europe and England and Sweden who used to do this kind of surgery and realized how bad this is for transgender to change the sex of children, which they can't do anyway. They just start chopping off the breasts and penis and whatever parts of somebody to try to make them think that they are a boy when they are really a girl, or a girl when they're a boy. And that our taxpayer money is going to go to do this to children, sometimes without the parents even knowing what's happening, and the parents being punished if they go against that. So those kind of things, I mean, that is just a complete waste of money. And even beyond that, it's an evil that's perpetrated, and they're trying to serve people from Texas and from other states that have laws to protect babies before to being aborted, and so they're welcoming in anyone from other states, especially down there would probably be a lot of people from Texas and Arizona to
Uh,
come to that facility.
exactly, Mary. Thank you. I mean, listen, don't you think is the out of control spending? It is in the too much power we give people who have control of the spending. You might say that.
Yes, it's we the people need to be helping to decide whether this is a good expenditure, or not. And oftentimes I was listening to a debate by the two people that are running for the US Congress um, last night, and the lady, the Democrat progressive lady Melanie Stansberry, just every single thing she talked about is we're going to send money, we're going to spend money, we're going to, you know, put money into this project and put money into that project and put money into that project. And we get people get this crazy idea that the government has money that they just where does that come from? Our pockets. That money
Exactly.
we're spending that isn't even there anymore is from taxpayers, from people who are working all across the nation here in the state. It's from our pockets and also from oil and gas and you know mining and things like that that are they're doing well in this state. But it's just this constant thing of, well, we'll just send you some money and we'll just take care of that need and we'll take care of this need and we'll have free daycare and we'll have free. It's not free. There's no such thing. It's coming out of our pocket. It's coming out of needs that are real needs that we the people have chosen would be important. An abortion and transgender center down in Diana County is not a good expenditure. Is not what we want our taxpayer monies to go toward.
Exactly. That's quite right, though. I mean, that if we are spending much in things that we don't do that. And what are they doing? Raising our taxes. What are they doing? Taking more money to do something that we don't want to with our own money. You know what I mean? Why don't we, as a family, the cost of living is going higher, their salaries and their pays are going lower, and their taxes as well is just capping it to seal that the poor stays poor or the poor is hungrier every time. Tell me a little bit about that. I just sometimes I what's the process about all that, my Mary? Me as a taxpayer, I like to know.
Well, one of the things that's sadly what's happened in our state, even worse than a lot of other states, is that we are like this. We're like, hey, give me, what are you going to give me else? Give me some more money. I don't want to work. Okay, give me, unemployment. Give me, assistance with my rent. Give me assistance with my gas bill and my P&M bill, electricity, and give me money for food and give me money. And when we are as citizens are in this give me the government is going to and is must give me this and that we are like this hungry animal. We have no freedom, we have no liberty because we are in the pocket and dependent on government for things. And like I want to go buy a big screen TV and I want you taxpayers to give me money to have to pay $8 or something in low income housing. And I want you taxpayers to provide me with food. And so that it just needs to be this balance that everyone needs to work. All work people that can work need to be working, and that would help us a ton instead of all the people, a whole bunch of people that are sitting around not working and depending on the government, which is all of us, to fund their life. And we just need to get out of that role of like, you know what, we can't grow. Eventually, there's not and in our state, we're having so many high taxes, excuse me, and regulations that people who own companies are leaving our state because there's so high taxes and so many regulations on them. They can't even do business. They can't even get good workers because a lot of people don't even want to work. They want a paycheck without working. And so it's kind of tipped the wrong direction. So we're losing good businesses out of this state who provide, money, through their business as well as personally. And the whole thing is a teeter totter that's tip in the wrong direction. So we just got to encourage people, get to work, take care of your own, children and families, work together with your church and with your extended family to provide, daycare for your children and to just really be not forever, apart from God. We need to be under God's help and honor him in everything we do. But part of what it says is if you don't work, you don't eat, it says in the Bible. So all this idea that we owe every single person food and a place to live and those kind of things through the government, it's not really how we're set up.
Exactly. Go ahead. Go ahead. Drink some water, Mary. I mean, I guess you go ahead. Listen, I'm going to say one thing though. I know that every state is decentralized. That's why we have different taxes in all the different states of the United States. Here in New Mexico, where do we go to be able to be heard and say, "Listen, why do you ask me so much money in taxes and everything I do?" Okay, and where can you tell me what is my money going to? And do I have the right to say, hey, I need to get the person responsible to give me a report of how we're spending? And if we say, hey, we're not happy about the way it is because you're hurting me being the one who's giving you what you're using not to benefit me and do other things that has nothing to do with people. It has for government interest. What can you say there?
Well, once again, it comes back to that idea that we, the people, are this nation. We are the sovereign or the king. We are in control. The government is our servant. And so we have to interact with them. We have to call up our senators and our representatives, our county commissioners, and tell them, it is really difficult. It takes a lot of effort and time to keep track of what's happening, what laws are being passed, what's going on. But people have to step forward and take that time to learn about these things so that they can speak up and talk to the people who are serving them, and to let them know, you're serving me. I'm not serving you. I'm not your servant. You're my servant. You're an elected person. You need to listen, and you need to do what we want to happen, and to let them know also what is going on that affects them. But people have to
Exactly.
wake, be citizens. They have to. We can't just sit back and like, oh, everything's falling apart. I'm not going to do anything about it. We have to enter that world and realize that politics, you can't keep it from you, because every street you drive on, every time you call the sheriff's department or police, every time you buy food, whatever it is, there's government that has an impact on that. We can't get away from the political system, from government. We are constantly, every minute, really affected by that. So we have to take our role as we the people, and stand up for what's the right thing, what's the godly thing, for us to do.
Exactly. No, no, it is correct because all those type of the increasing the taxes is, hey, listen, it will drive us to the next point, which it is like I just mentioned at the beginning, but like Las Cruces, the big how do you call that building or the big hospital or whatever it is spending some of the monies that we have to protect a newborn, to put in resources where it's easy for the person to get rid of it, or to be able to hurt our children without our permission, to be able to change the gender because they took over and they thought they know better than that. They're not helping us with money by raising the taxes. They're making it difficult. So they're choking us. You know what I mean? To be able not to be defenseless so they can come over and say, now we are going to do what you can't do because you are holding us back. You're
Yeah.
tying us. You're tying us. You're digging us deeper than anything else. And what can you tell me regarding protecting the life of the unborn, about all these control the government spending, higher taxes, and that brings us to that has those 2 points has to do with protecting the life of the unborn. What else do we need to do besides controlling that spending instead of putting places like that to be easy for you to go and get an abortion? Why don't you put a association or a resource where they have doctors specialized in the process of thinking, making people understand, okay, if you really want to do this, we as government, we're going to take that child away. We're going to uplift you from that responsibility that you don't want, because we have many parents that they cannot have kids and they will love the opportunity. But why do we kill the need of others through this opportunity?
I think it's gone back to our idea of God, basically. When we threw God, we're throwing God out of government, out of schools, out of so many places that um, that that when God is thrown out and Christianity is thrown out of those places, we get a worldly view of something. Our Constitution and Declaration of Independence is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness are three of the goals of our government and of our country. When we take over that role of thinking that we are gods, little g, and make that we can make the decisions on life, that we can decide who which person who from the very moment they're conceived are a person made in the image of God, that when we can say, oh, you have Down syndrome, you need to die, you can't be born because you're not smart enough, or you take too many resources or whatever, so you could be gone. This other thing that they can find out genetically, oh, we're gonna get rid of that baby, or somebody just doesn't want you. Is like I made that decision when I was in college, and it was, for me, it was covering up the sexual sin that I was involved in, and I made that decision, and I got rid of the baby. I know the baby's in heaven, and I'm forgiven. Thank you, Lord. But just so many ways that when we put God on the back burner and to allow Him to be the author of life, and to know that that's the most important thing. And same thing with elderly people, that, oh, that person's sick and old and they have Alzheimer's, might as well kill them. And just euthanasia, that whole side of things, where they don't have a quality of life. And we think we should, as humans, get to make that decision. We shouldn't. We're not God. That is God's decision from the time the baby is conceived to the time of natural death. We as humans don't have the wisdom to do that, make decisions in that realm. Our government, they have plenty of money to spend on so many things, but when it comes to someone at the end of their life, or someone with mental illness, or someone with you know it could be the color of their skin, it could be poor parents, it could be whatever you want. And like our abortion industry with Margaret Sanger was a lot against Black people, and they would put the abortion centers right in the neighborhood of Black people in cities, so that they would try and get rid of Black people, or and that is wrong, and that is not God's plan for us. And that's been it's been decades that we have tried to take the place of God in terms of life in our country. And I think that you see it whenever you look at a lot of policies, that we have tried to take God's role in that.
Exactly, Mary. I'm telling you, a lot of things cross my mind, though. With the life of the they're protecting the life of the unborn, though, because he has to do a lot about all the 10 points over here are well put. They are so correlated, so much correlated that is amazing and impressive. Controlling the government spending, we do, and the legal immigrants, because we need a lot more money to clean the mess that some of the bad immigrants come in. Okay, why do we need to pay that mess? Why do we need to? I mean, why do they take the right to let people in that they're going to be able to threaten our homes? About I mean, putting our taxes higher for what? To spend in the wrong things that we don't need to make it available. We say, hey, that person has the right to decide because it's old enough. I'll say, hey, you cutting it too thin, because you're not saying, hey, the children before then, they're not old enough, but the parents have the right because it's their kids until they have all of age. You're saying, hey, you don't even have that right either. So the government is having the right on everything, from the get-go to whatever they want to do. They're playing the devil's advocate, you know? and saying, "Hey, the kid is. I mean, we're going to do the best for the child and the gender prize and the gender part because he can't decide for himself, and we're going to do that. I mean, the parents have to do that. And then I said we have the right to follow through on the person who's over 18 or 19 or whatever. Now it is whatever age will be 15, 16, now seeing 12 years old or 18 years old or 20 years old. They barge into it. They interfere into that. Why is that happening like that, Mary?
I mean, I think, and sadly, Satan. We've allowed Satan um, to enter and to be, be in all kinds of these, government agencies and allow just things that are wrong. We just know that things are wrong, and we have just kind of turned our back on that. And well, I don't want to cause problems, and I don't want to um, make waves, or I don't want to make my neighbors or my family angry with me because I'm standing up for God's way of doing these things. And I think that's we've been really weak. We've been had our eyes closed and we had our comfort. We are sitting around in a comfortable place, like, oh well, let somebody else fight that battle. I'm not going to really worry about that. And now we're in a place where it's so important that everyone who legally can vote will vote. We're talking about voting for values. We're not, we may not like. I mean, I was hearing somebody talk the other day, and it had. He says he teaches, for citizens that we need to have like a pyramid. The bottom is the values, and that's what we're thinking of. Godly values and God's way of looking at these things, honoring Him. The next one would be policies. What does He want to try to accomplish? Within the government process and voting, and with we people and things in the Constitution. And then the top part is personality. That that really shouldn't even what the person looks like or what color they are or what their last name is or any of that. None of that. Just like the Bible says, God says, I don't judge like you do. When Saul was going to be chosen as king, well, look, he's tall, he's a head higher than the other people, he's handsome, and he's a good warrior, and he's from this family, and he's been around here for this long, and that's we fail big time with our leadership when we get to that tip of that pyramid and we're just looking at personality, who not the values of that person. And that's what we're talking about this today, is that people need to knock off this. So I don't like the way that person talks, or whatever. I don't like that they can't speak Spanish, or I like that they can speak Spanish, or whatever. Those things are all you know just not what's important. What's important is their values and their heart. And uh, in this time in New Mexico, we need to be looking at the values, and then the policies, and then the personality is almost not something to worry
Exactly. Exactly, Mary. I mean, I think Donald Trump has to figure it out. That's why he's going for most of the right. The red side is Donald Trump's. Left side is we know who, Kamala Harris and her crew. I mean, I'll say I'm sticking with the right side with the Republicans right now because they're fighting for the right reasons. Okay, not to inflict on anybody. It's my personal choice. Okay, so whatever you guys can do, do. I make it apparent that I do support the welfare and benefit and the peace that we need in this country. And this is a way for us to keep it. And also, one thing that drives us to all this is government really excessively overruling over companies. I mean, they are the ones that gives jobs, that bring people out of their necessity of working to bring the income to a home. But if we're going to start choking them, raising the taxes and raising whatever they need to do, cutting more of what they really need to be able for them to survive, where is it going to be? All the employees, where are they going to go? How many businesses are going to survive in this country? Let us tell me a little bit about, am I right seeing it that way, or is another point of we can look at it this about government overruling businesses?
Well, I mean, even in our county, that's one of the things, the county commission, which I'm running for, is has a lot of power over zoning and over the regulations and the taxes and the gross receipts tax. We have several different taxes on businesses that are not good, that other states have gotten rid of those because they hold the businesses down or they make it so they can't function. We just, thanks be to God, we had a recent we were out visiting some businesses and talking about these issues, and there was a painting company that was telling us the story of trying to function in our county and to be able to put their business have a business in a particular place, and how many roadblocks the county put in their way for them to be able to just do their painting business, and ridiculous things that they could pull up EPA, and that your paint is affecting the air quality, and blah blah blah, and storage of just paint in their facility, and they fought them on every front, and they kindly made a donation to our campaign, thinking maybe we can try to pare down some of these regulations and taxes that are placed on these small businesses that are just trying to make it, to keep families and the people who all have families working, and not, oh, there's another closed business, there's another building that homeless can break into and wreck because there's no longer a business there. The person who's running for the county commission in District 3, which is the international district and part of the Northeast, he has a restaurant up on Gibson in southeast area of Albuquerque, and there's 8 closed businesses on just this short stretch of road, that are a nuisance at the best, because then people can go in there, break them down, and his area particularly is just decimated by homelessness, by crime, by the driving out of small businesses,
Exactly.
by our county.
Exactly, Mary. It's like government is shooting themselves in the foot whenever they want to try. They want to run the Olympics without seeing what's going to hinder them, hamper them into the way of the things that they can do better for us. Because if companies keep going out of business, where are going to be the taxpayers? There's going to be less money. That means that's why they're kicking up the taxes way higher, higher to compensate the overruling, overregulating part of businesses that they have no other choice to close the doors and say,
Right.
listen, I said, they're not paying my bills. They're not. We are human beings that want to have a business, prosperous business, because we want to take care better and give better things to our family. We're not going and say we're going to rob people so we can give our family something better. There's a bunch of people working together,
Yep.
a lot of families. So we got to realize that overruling them, we're choking them to the point that they're going to say, I had enough.
Yep.
Whatever
I
I
need it
have right now,
more.
I'm gonna leave out of my savings, and I'm gonna probably go and get a job to another company and let that other company go through whatever the government is trying to do until the point that they're going to be out of business as well. And then at least I make a little money to savings, and then I'll leave out of my savings until a good term of a president comes here, and he makes me believe in its and the value of the country we once were, and we're not. We got to face that we're not that country anymore. We're
Yep.
struggling. I mean, we letting outsiders inflict indirectly to overruling us whatever we do to our companies to be able to sustain the economy in this country. We should be looking outside to sustain the danger that is coming, inflicting in this country to unstable us and be able to put us through things that are going to make us do things that we don't need that. We work to make this country great. And I hope that we can see that and we can support and we can vote to the to the people like yourself, like Marcy, like Miss Trujillo, like Renee. I seen that's a great bunch of people here for ourselves, and I know there's going to be a lot more out there that I haven't had the opportunity to meet or get to know a little more about them. So let's think about that. And with this, we're going to go into a subject that is very unique that we kind of mentioned through the whole nine previous points, and some we dabble into it. But what do you think about sharing bathrooms by not discriminating gender type?
Well, it's that's one part of it is sharing, bathrooms and locker rooms where it's particularly for male, for men or boys to who say they're girls to be able to go into the girls' locker rooms. The girls are a lot more at risk than the opposite away. But I mean, if a girl goes into a boy's bathroom, it's very uncomfortable, but not as likely dangerous. Um, but we were there last night at Johnson Center at UNM for the women's volleyball match. And we were there outside because they have a transgender male on the team of the San Jose State University who they were playing from. They're from California. And we were there to just say, no, this is not right. This person could be taking the scholarship of a female athlete, of a girl, a woman. They could be in volleyball. It's not so dangerous in terms of they're not like they don't interact with the opposite team. They could hurt their own team more than they could hurt the opposite team. But having a male on a female net, which is I think is 7 inches shorter than the one for the men, it just allows, there was a young girl that was injured. She's a middle schooler from another state who was hit by a ball that a male, much larger, much stronger than her, hit her in the head. And she has permanent head and neck injuries from that. And that's volleyball. That's, not as dangerous as things like maybe rugby or boxing, like we saw in the Olympics, where men are smashing women in the face in Olympics, and that was allowed. And so several universities in the Mountain West District said, no, we're not going to play. We're going to forfeit. The teams voted to forfeit their game to say this is wrong. We don't want this. We need to change this in the NCAA rules so that men are not participating in women's and girls sports. And there were two of us, my husband and I, there, with our signs last night. The news people came and talked to us, and we were hoping that they would put on what we said on the news. They didn't. They said, oh, there were only two people objecting to this transgender guy being part of it. So that's what went on the news. But we felt that was the right thing to do, to have a voice to say this is not right, this is not fair, and it's not safe. And
Exactly, yeah, Mary, because this is opening a can of worms that are, wow. I mean, how can you bear it? That's the invasion of privacy. Constitution protects that. You know what I mean? Why do we have why do we have doors then? Why do we bother?
right.
You know what I mean? And like you said also about volleyball, I mean, I was a good player, excellent player in volleyball. And when I was in high school, about 17, I was good. I used to spike that ball that not even a man could really hold it. Okay,
Yep.
but my coach used to bring a team up only women. He never allowed us to mix boys and girls. So he used to be of the thinking of if you can if you can spike it and you can play it through it, whoever is in the other side without worrying is a woman or a man, then you go into a higher state in your mind of playing the game to the highest level. Okay, I was one of them in there. I said, well, wait, fine. And I remember I went up in the air, and I used to know the technique about spiking. I love that by volleyball. And I went and boom, hit it. But I hit it to a space where there was no one because I was gentleman regardless. I mean, I'd rather lose a point, I'd rather lose a game, but I respect a woman. Okay. And when I hit it, it was going down to the floor, but this girl came in and got herself to try to protect, and I hit it right in the chest. And that was powerful hitting. It was not just a hitting. You don't have. And then she went down on the floor and she just laid down. I said, "Oh my goodness, what did I do? What happened here? Shouldn't happen." And I told my coach, whenever you put me in our team to play against women, I'm going to sit down the game. I'm not going even if for training. I'm going to not allow. And since then, I understood that moment that I challenged myself to let the coach inflict in me that yes, you can do that, but your skills are skills. In a given moment, you're going to execute. And if somebody out there is not who's supposed to receive it, another man is more not as skillful, protected. It probably could be the same, but we should keep our distance between women and that because that's what respect is all about. That's the reason why in the Olympics and the boxing match that came out to be worldwide known, they put a man out there who, in one punch, put away out a woman. I believe me, I felt that. Like saying, God, take me there right now. And I'll say, listen, come on in. You can punch. Go ahead. Come
Yeah.
on. Let's go at it each other. I mean, men to men, and I'll bet you I'm not that of a boxer, but if I can probably say, hey, this is your match. Women are not your match. There's no way a woman in boxing could be a match for a man, regardless
Right.
in which way, color or size you might see it. I
Yeah.
think Mary is being very good about all these 10 points. I mean, that you share with us, and I'm glad you did. I mean, it gave us the opportunity to talk about what we have and the issues that are going to govern us in the near future. And what are these at these points, Mary, is the points that you take three of these 10 points that you really think are the utmost important. And tell me a little bit about them. And about 3 minutes to that. A minute for each point.
Okay. Well, just start, you know, with the Republican Party and conservatives in New Mexico. It has been 90 years of Democrat rule in our state. And we look at so many things that have fallen back, that were, really bad with education. Our crime is terrible. All kinds of things like that are in really, really bad shape because, excuse me, because we have taken God out of things. So I just recommend that people really look at these values and vote. I believe that the vast majority of all of the candidates that I've met, who are Republicans, who are conservatives, love New Mexico, love the people of New Mexico, love God, and are trying to do the right things. I think we really, really need to think about, let's try a different way. Let's not just elect all Democrats, because we've seen, what's happened for children. Um, they're not protected. They passed these 6 laws that are so bad for children and for families, which that's Satan's way to break up families, to distort things that God made. God made men, God made women. He didn't make them that can go back and forth and be one or the other. And I think that the distortion that Satan has placed on there of taking away, for me, the parental rights, to take away the ability to protect ourselves, um, and then for the completely unprotected unborn, that are the most, fragile, but they have a fingerprint when they're teeny tiny babies. They're people. They're citizens of the United States who have all the rights. They have rights of, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and we need to give them the opportunity to be born and to be, have the life that God wants them to have. So I think those foundational things, if we can begin to make our laws, make our statutes, make our those are priorities of putting God first, and taking care of families, taking care of, parents, and taking care of the unborn. If we can focus into those very, very delicate but important things in our county, in our city, in our state, in our nation, that we can begin to turn this tide, that we can cast Satan out, and deceptions and the sleeping people that don't want to have any part of this, that they will join in and do their part as be the people, as the ones who are in control in this country, to do the right thing and not to say, well, government is evil and we don't really care. We're not going to vote. That hurt. When people don't vote, that hurts all of us. It doesn't hurt the government. It hurts us. And but voting for God, voting for values is the most important thing that we can do. And I had a lady call me who just that lives down here. Someone had come to her door and brought her information about my candidacy and about things, and she's going to now have her husband, who's 60 years old, and her daughter, who's 45, to be able to register for the very first time and vote, do their part to do the right thing for our county and for our state. So I think that's my encouragement, is that people, you still can register on the day you vote. You can get a sample ballot ahead of time. You can go to the voting center in New Mexico starting on Saturday. There's centers all over the county and all over the state. You can go get your sample ballot, because it's a big ballot with lots to decide on. Take a look at that, make your decisions ahead of time, and then go back, register, and vote on the same day.
Okay, Mary. I think they says in here that there is a voting. You can start voting from just last week. I mean, the other day. I mean, I think yeah, about October 8th.
Yes, and now that was a very limited places that you could go. Now it will be all the early voting centers will open up, and that's a ton of them in Bernalillo County, and there'll be some in every county in New Mexico, all 33. So by as of Saturday, I would recommend getting your sample ballot first. Have them go to the voting place, ask for your sample ballot, which is special for you, where you live, so you can vote for the people that are in your neighborhood, and of course all the ones in New Mexico. Get it home, call the Republican Party if you have questions about certain people. If you're a person that lives on the computer, you can look up, most of the people, see what their values are, and then go back a different time to actually vote. You can take your sample ballot in there with you and say, okay, here's what I've already decided, and be able to put it on the actual ballot. So just do that preparation ahead of time. But I think the sample ballot would be so helpful for people, because it is a big ballot with lots and lots on there.
Okay, thank you, Mary. You heard it here in Promesa, New Mexico. I mean, it was so important. I mean, we're going to recap sometime next week as well. I mean, I going to talk to. Let's see what time will be best. We can do probably 8 o'clock. The same. I mean, 9 o'clock, I should say. Mary, wherever I am in the world, I can be able to do whatever it is as long as we can get. I would like to take an opportunity to recap a little more profound all these 10 topics. I know where I stand. I know that I want things better for my country, for myself, and be able to protect all of us, not just me. It's not about just one of us. It's about all of us. And we got to
Yes.
think and get up from our seat and say, hey, what are you doing for me? And how are you, if you're taking things from me or taking away rights or increasing taxes, there was the possibility for me to have a well-being life. What are you doing to protect me? What are you leaving the doors open? What are you letting coming into this country? Why are you doing this? What are you not letting us to bear arms? What are you messing with the Constitution? Why are citizens of the United States, besides that, they thought it was going to be the only ones allowed to vote for it, for to be for a president or for any elected official in this country? You know what I mean? Why are we controlling that? We're not controlling the expense, the spending. Why are you taking us in taxes more to spend anyway freely? All those type of things I like to. I don't think we didn't have enough time. I let the program go a few more minutes more because I thought that we should close it the proper way. I think I thank you, Mary, for you being always available. I mean, Mary is going to is running for Commissioner of Bernalillo County for the District 2. And I know and I believe in my court that Mary is the one we need. Mary, thank you very much for your time. And a few words that you would like to say before you do a closing with a prayer for us.
Just yeah, just I would appreciate your vote and you telling others about me, not because I'm a great politician or something. I'm a pediatric physical therapist, but I care and I love God. And I believe if we are godly leaders, the people to listen to the people, then we can do much better, for people.
Okay, Mary, thank you very much. Close us with a prayer, and then we go until next week, Friday, 9 o'clock. We're going to recap this in the first 15 minutes, and later we're going to go a little more profound of you telling us what are these issues are the most important for us in here in Bernalillo County and your district too. Go ahead, Mary.
Okay. Dear Lord Jesus, I thank you very much for all the people that are listening, Lord God. It's kind of overwhelming, this whole process, but God instituted us. He gave us good brains, and he gave good counsel. Our pastors and people that can teach us about God, about God's laws and God's will for our lives. And that's what we want to base our government and our decisions on, is God's will and what God teaches in the Bible. So I pray for each person that's here and all their families, that you'd bless them, Lord, draw them close to you, and help them to make a plan to vote, to know what's going on, and to look at the values of the people. Are their values in line with what the Bible says? If they're not, then we shouldn't vote for them. We should not encourage them to be in our government, to be leading us. So I pray, Lord Jesus, you just uh, bless Eduardo and Maria, who's not here right now, um, and La Promesa, for their kindness to me, and just have your words go out, Jesus. In your precious name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Amen. Well, thank you very much, Mary. You always appreciate it. Your time, your focus, your energy, and your drive to be involved whenever you can be in your house, scratching your head or getting a cup of coffee or this and that. You're taking the time to come up and let people know, hey, there is somebody that cares, besides, might say me, to bring you the news that you deserve to hear. But Mary, Mary Ingham, for commissioner for District 2, Bernalillo County, you have somebody who's going to make you aware and fight for your rights. Mary, thank you very much. God bless you. Until next week, we'll see you soon. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.